On today's show, we're going to take a look at the top available NFL free agents who the 49ers can go after the NFL draft. They didn't address safety. They didn't address some of the other positions of need on this roster. And there are some really quality players left who the Niners can bring in to the Bay Area. Of course, you're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Jay Sr. If you like our content, make sure you subscribe. So we start off our top free agent list with Jadeveon Clowney. Has not been signed yet. I'm not sure he's the best scheme fit, but I think a player of this caliber can work in any scheme out there, whether it be 3-4 or 4-3. This guy just has an innate ability to get after the quarterback. Now, you might look at his career statistics and say, Jadeveon Clowney's never been a big sack number total guy. Yeah, that's technically true. Hasn't really surpassed double-digit sacks in a season, but this guy is a physical menace. You line him up opposite of Nick Bosa, this defensive line becomes even better and deeper. I do not, however, think this is all that realistic after the Niners went Drake Jackson in the second round, and they're about 2 or 3 deep across that defensive front for defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryans. A free agent who does intrigue me, especially considering what's going on with Deebo Samuel right now. Whether Deebo's on the roster or not, would you take a swing on Odell Beckham Jr.? After he got dealt to the Super Bowl champion, Los Angeles Rams, he was awesome. A lot of people thought that he was washed with the Cleveland Browns. It turns out he needed competent quarterback play. He wasn't getting that with Baker Mayfield. He got that with Matthew Stafford, who had the highest passer rating among all quarterbacks in the fourth quarter last year. The concern with OBJ, he now has 2 ACL tears. He's rehabbing that ACL tear throughout this offseason. And I'm not sure he's going to be ready to start the year because he tore that ACL in February in the Super Bowl, but I think he still has some juice left, and OBJ, certainly a very special wide receiver who you can line up anywhere on the football field. Faithful, I want to hear from you. Would you sign Odell Beckham Jr.? I want you to hop into the comment section right now and type OBJ for yes or no BJ for no. He did it again! No BJ. You see what we did there? It's an inside joke here at Chat Sports, and that's been running for a really long time. Let me know if you'd ink OBJ to a contract by submitting your votes in the comments. Number 3. This actually does intrigue me, the thought of J.C. Tretter, formerly of the Cleveland Browns, a center, coming to the Bay Area. Why is that? We're not sure what's going to happen with Alex Mack moving forward. Is he going to retire? Is he going to come back for 2022? J.C. Tretter is a little bit older. He's been a little bit injury prone, but this guy is a very, very good center when he's healthy. Unsigned to this point, a little bit of a shock. He's still playing at a starting caliber role. I will say this about Tretter and one of the Niners UDFAs who I happen to really, really like, Donovan West, who's coming to the Bay as an undrafted free agent. Donovan West out of Arizona State is a perfect, and I mean perfect scheme fit. He's under 300 pounds. Doesn't matter in Kyle Shanahan's offense. He can get out in space on some of those pull blocks. And he played every interior offensive line position during his career at Arizona State. Watch out for him to possibly crack this roster and maybe even become the Niners starting center down the road. Couple of receivers to get to on this list. Julio Jones is a Kyle Shanahan favorite. Over the last couple of years, the injuries have gone up while the numbers have gone down. His last really, really good year came in 2019. We're a couple years removed from that. When he was with Kyle Shanahan, when Shanny was the OC with Atlanta, had the best 2 years of his career. But last year, 434 receiving yards. The year before that, 771. Missed some games the last 2 years. 2019, 2018, though, able to surpass well over the 1,000-yard receiving mark. I'm not really high on the prospects of Julio Jones because he's older and he's injury prone. So I want to ask you this question. 2 wide receivers who have dealt with injury issues, and OBJ as well as Julio Jones. If you had to pick one to sign, who are you going with? Type O for OBJ, J for Julio Jones, a Kyle Shanahan favorite. Once again, I appreciate your feedback down below. We move forward. Daryl Williams, offensive tackle. Obviously, the Niners addressed offensive line pretty heavy throughout the draft, especially with Spencer Burford, the offensive tackle and guard out of UTSA. If an injury happens, though, Daryl Williams could get on the phone. Number 6, Melvin Ingram. Same point goes to Jadeveon Clowney. You stocked up. You stacked up that defensive line throughout draft and the free agency. So I don't think the Niners are really going to go defensive line, but of course, it's a big name, good depth piece. If an injury happens, maybe they could reach out to Melvin Ingram. For George Kittle, obviously he's the tight end one. Opposite of that, Charlie Warner, Ross Dwelly, decent backup options. Niners did not draft a tight end in the NFL draft, and Rob Gronkowski is still available. I think all signs point to, if he does come back, going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But if he wanted to be a part of this offense and you need a depth piece, I certainly would think long and hard about it. Today's show presented to you by our presenting sponsor, Fanatics. 49ers jerseys available if you plug in that link at the bottom of your screen. Chatsports.com/49jersey. All types of colors and sizes available for multiple players. Hopefully Deebo Samuel returns to the Bay, so a lot of you who bought his jersey don't have to worry about never wearing it again, and he can be an all-time Niner great. Also, some throwback jerseys available. Joe Montana, Joe Cool, as well as Jerry Rice, the GOAT of all wide receivers. I'm going to put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. It's chatsports.com/49jersey. Another offensive tackle, still free, formerly of the Seattle Seahawks, Duane Brown. He's a good player, a little bit older. I know Russell Wilson really wanted him to get paid. He didn't really, coming off a down year, but can still start despite turning 37 years old before the season. This is really worst case scenario. Mike McGlinchey can't come back. These rookies are a bust. Maybe it goes up to training camp where you're like, we don't even have a tackle. Kind of like what the Bears did last year with Jason Peters, Duane Brown. I don't know if he's going to ink a contract for a little while, but certainly a name out there. Trey Flowers, defensive end, coming in at number 9. This guy has had a long and very successful career, but I think he's a little bit washed up to this point. Number 10, Anthony Barr, the linebacker. San Francisco, in my opinion, has one of the best linebacking cores in the National Football League with Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Azeez Al-Shire. Anthony Barr, pretty lukewarm on him because of the fact that the Niners are very stacked at that linebacking spot. Best NFL free agent still available right now. We're breaking down this list. Obviously, some superstar names, some guys who have their best days behind them. Give me a name in the comment section. And while you're down there, if you want free daily videos covering all of the latest 49ers news and rumors, the solution for that problem is easy and simple. You just have to hit that red subscribe button down below or go to youtube.com/49erstv. We're halfway through this list, and Marsh, we can run through this back half pretty quickly. Kyle Van Noy, linebacker. It's crazy how quickly his career dissipated. Signed that big deal with the Miami Dolphins only a couple of off seasons ago. Now still on the open market. Eric Fisher, offensive tackle, another really good player who certainly has stacked up the accolades. Good tackle, a little bit older, a little bit injury prone, but there's a reason why a lot of these guys are still available on the free agency market. They're either older, production has slipped, or they've dealt with a lot of injury issues. Akeem Hicks, very good defensive tackle. I think he can be a nose in a 3-4 scheme. He could play D-tackle in a 4-3. The Niners are a little bit thin at that D-tackle spot, especially considering that Javon Kinlaw coming off that torn ACL. I wouldn't mind hitting up Akeem Hicks and seeing what he's up to this offseason. Justin Houston, edge rusher, actually wasn't bad for the Baltimore Ravens last year. Very old guy, but he still continues to put out numbers, decent sack numbers, and get the job done. Could he help a playoff contender? I think he could. Jarvis Landry has not signed anywhere. I think he's been waiting to see where the dominoes fall. For him, I think it'd be wise to go back to Cleveland, team back up with the Browns, and catch some passes from Deshaun Watson, who I think when on the field is one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. And I think Jarvis Landry, who was injured a lot last year, production slipped a little bit, did not have good quarterback play, would immediately be a lot better if he did get good quarterback play, and I expect Deshaun Watson to bring that to the table as long as he's cleared medically. What is the most that you would pay Jarvis Landry per year? How much do you think he's worth? Exploding wide receiver market throughout this offseason. He is not up there with the upper echelon wide receivers, in my opinion, but you let me know in the comments. Number 16, Dante Hightower, linebacker. Yeah, again, you don't really need linebackers, but we're simply looking at the top free agents still available, and injuries always come into play where you have to reach out to a Josh Norman or a Dre Kirkpatrick. Joe Hayden. Before the draft, I would have said, okay, I kind of like that idea, but you go with Samuel Womack in the draft, you get Tariq Castro-Fields. I think the value on both of those players was absolutely excellent. The same can be applied for Bryce Callahan. At this point, does he play outside? Does he play inside? Did some good stuff with the Denver Broncos, but I would press pass on that. Jerry Hughes, edge rusher. surprisingly let go by the Buffalo Bills. And that's why he has not been signed just yet. I still think he can play. I still think he can put up some solid numbers. But once again, the Niners, among all teams in the NFL, I honestly believe this, they might have the most stacked defensive line in the National Football League. Lastly, I talk about the Niners being somewhat thin at that D tackle spot. They are. Now, are they expecting, Hassan Ridgeway to get a lot of snaps? Are they expecting Javon Kinlaw to come back right away off that ACL surgery? Are they going to continue to go with Eric Armstead at D tackle? That's something worth monitoring. Ndamukong Suh, very, very good player. 5 bonus players left who we'll run through here. Emmanuel Sanders, Will Fuller, Nick Foles, Mike Davis, and Antonio Brown. I have to be honest with you, Nick Foles as a backup quarterback for Trey Lance, it's not a terrible idea. Like, are you sold that Nate Sudfeld is that cat? I'm really not. So Nick Foles as a backup quarterback, Jekyll and Hyde career. Honestly, one of the most fascinating careers among any quarterback to ever grace the field in the history of the NFL. Super Bowl MVP, was miraculous on that Eagles Super Bowl run. Anytime he's rocked an Eagles uniform, he's been great. Any other team, he's been bad. As for Antonio Brown, I know a lot of people have hit me up and said, Chase, could use some wide receiver depth to a certain degree. Antonio Brown, he can certainly still play. So because so many have asked me about Antonio Brown, I have to hit on AB. Looks as though he's more focused on rapping now than he is football, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I worry about that dude in between the ears, man. Something doesn't seem right. He's gone off the rails a little bit. I think the last image that we're going to see of him in an NFL uniform is him at MetLife, running off the field like this. Absolutely crazy. Kind of like what Draymond Green did last night, or the other night, I should say, against the Memphis Grizzlies. But AB, no way. He also is hurt right now and said, I'm not returning unless I get a contract. Then I will get that foot operated on. I thought that was weird. No chance on Antonio Brown. Grade the 49ers roster for me following the NFL draft as free agency going to start to pick back up a little bit. I mean, we saw Tyrann Mathieu sign with the New Orleans Saints this week. Let me know in the comments section, and thanks so much for supporting the 49ers Report.